it down, chop it down, chop it down, you gon' chop it down. Chop it down, you gon' chop it down. Damn, set, watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Die Podcast. I am your host of the Trap or Die Podcast, Mual. Dre is in here, man. I see everybody in the chat. Monty, J, Tizzy, Mual, Benz. What's up? Let's get the administrative items out of the way, man. If you are watching on YouTube, we definitely appreciate that. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you have not done so already, man. Audio side, matter of fact, Twitch and Twitter. Appreciate you watching. Try to migrate over to the YouTube side if you can, man. Help with the subscribers over there on the YouTube side. But however you want to watch, it's fine with us. Audio side, man, hit the button. Follow, rate, review if you can, man. Take 10 seconds to do so, and it's free to show you support that way. All right, now we got the full crew in here. Boom. What's going on, fellas? AJ, Dre.
It's better, bro. It's game week. We finally made it, man. I feel like we just got up out that dark tunnel. We here. We got an injury report tomorrow. We got a depth chart today, man. We get a game on Thursday, game on Friday. Man, we here.
What's up with you, AJ?
Hey, not much, man. Yeah, it's time for the real thing to start counting, you know. I didn't even realize there was a game on Friday until 2 days ago.
Chiefs.
Yeah, so yeah, man, we just got jam-packed football, not only from a professional standpoint, but from a collegiate standpoint. But yeah, you know, Commanders play the New York Giants on Sunday. So yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, man. Like Ben said, 5 days and counting.
Jaden Daniels days and counting.
Yeah, no bullshit. 5 Jaden Daniels days and counting. What's up, Moneyball? I see you. I wonder if. Well, I mean, I don't know if we said that Bill Merrill was gonna be starting. I know I didn't, but
Money.
Maybe he's just
making up his own.
I say maybe he's just talking to the people though. I don't know.
Moneyball just like being loud and wrong. And like I said last week, bring your ass up on here and debate us, bro. Like, yeah, floor is open to some of y'all to come and talk y'all shit. Cause we definitely said running back by committee last week.
Yeah, we did. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna just assume that he's just talking to the people. Like when people say "I told you so" and stuff like that, it's all good, man. Shout out to Money Ball, but AJ not lying. You know, open floor sometimes. I don't think we're doing that today though. We got some things to talk about now. So the depth chart did just come out. I think like an hour after we did. Hey, I'll worry about that later. An hour after we talked about like what's going on this week. So for those that was wondering about a few things, you know, where is the depth chart? Of course, I did not save it, so let me go find it. But for those that was wondering about Josh Connerly, he is starting on that right side, so we don't have to worry about who was going to be there, if it was going to be him or Andrew Wiley. But it kind of makes sense now with Andrew Wiley, though, like playing across the offensive line throughout training camp and preseason, because now they have him at right guard with Nick Allegretti, and it's listed as Nick or Andrew. So I guess they want to kind of see what they can do with Andrew, while as for Josh, they're like, you know, you're good to go for now. So that's one thing. And then Moneyball mentioned Bill. He's the 4th string running back on the depth chart. I actually don't find that interesting. Like, I don't think that's a surprising thing to me. Outside of that, I think everything else is kind of standard. More so just trying to figure out where that running back was and who was going to be at right tackle for Washington. And we got that figured out pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I think I guess maybe they go with a rotation at the guard position, but I don't expect Wiley to sit on the bench, especially making the amount of money that he is making. I also think that he's the better player out of him and Allegretti if you had to pick. The only other interesting thing I found from the depth chart was Von Miller was specifically listed as outside linebacker. So, I mean, outside of that, I think that we've pretty much known how this roster was going to shape up overall. Maybe they make an addition still to the wide receiver room with Kendrick Bourne having his visit today. But yeah, I didn't see. I guess Moneyball is bringing up something that I didn't pay attention to. Who was listed at kick returner and punt returner? Do we have that information?
Debo and Luke McCaffrey as your kick returners, and then you got Jalen Lane as your punt returner.
Okay, so yeah, I think even that kick returner element will be rotational, but I mean Debo's a threat, and the NFL is gearing towards having more returns. So if you're a guy like Debo who can hit these lanes and has a jetpack for his size, I think that's something that you want to utilize, but maybe not every single kickoff. But you still want that to be a threat, and you want to also pose that within your kickoff return or depth chart. You want to show that that person is going to be out there for the special teams to have to get prepared for. But I don't see him being like the full-time guy every single time. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how those type of things work out, and also with the guard position. But everything else has been pretty much like locked in from a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't know if it's too many surprises. The only thing is, when we talk about the running back position and Bill being full string, now I wonder especially when it comes to Sunday, who's going to be the inactive back? Because I kind of have a hard time seeing 4 backs going into the game active. So it kind of makes you wonder if Bill's going to kind of start off the season on the inactive list. I mean, how long will he stay there? That's to be determined. And maybe special teams has something to do with it, because special teams was a big concern in the preseason, obviously. And we know J-Mac plays special teams. Eckler obviously has special teams experience. I don't know how much Eckler's going to be out there because, the concussion issues. I think C-Rod has special teams experience. So that just kind of leaves Bill as the odd man out. But again, I don't know if he'll probably be there for too long. I hope not, because I do think that he is that change of pace back. And, to Moneyball's point, when you talk about the running back position, I think that's what you're talking about. You're talking about a running back by committee. Like I mentioned on X a couple of hours ago, I think everyone's going to have a role in this offense. You're going to look at Eckler. He's probably going to get the most touches, obviously, because he's your best receiving back. He can also, be that Swiss Army knife. Whereas your J-Mac and your C-Rod's probably going to be your power running, your in-between the tackles guys, your goal line short yardage guys. And then whenever Bill comes into play, I think he's going to be the change of pace guy. So I think that's how they see this running back room. And I don't think that's a knock on anybody. I just think they really like all of those guys, which is why you can trade a Brian Robinson if you feel that way about your running back room. But that's it for the running backs. But for the offensive line,
well, let's pause there because you brought up a good point about the 4 running backs. Because I started thinking, like, I don't even remember last year where there was games they had 4 running backs active. Like, it's always been 3. It was Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, Jeremy McNichols. Or if B-Rob's out, you get Austin Eckler, McNichols, C-Rod. But it was never 4. So shit. Bill may be sitting a little bit.
I think so. And you look at some of the things, we had JP on last week who talked about him kind of being in the medical tent a lot, even after, most of the preseason games, or he's in those non-contact jerseys. So maybe they just trying to get this guy ready for some NFL hitting. Because, you got to keep in mind, he didn't play football last year. So, he's a year off of football, not because of injury or anything, but because of whatever academic reasons that he couldn't play. But he has to get used to this level. He has to get used to getting hit again. So maybe they want to get his body prepared. So he could be that odd man out to start the season. But again, I hope it's not too long, because I do think he has some value in that running back room. I think he brings something to that running back room that nobody else in that running back room brings. And I think that's kind of that home run hitting ability that we saw him do at Arizona. I mean, he did it in the preseason. I mean, it was only 30 yards, but shit, I mean, it was a big carry on his first game. He has that type of ability. So I hope that he's able to get up to speed sometime soon. But it's just something to keep in mind that, I don't know if they're going to have 4 running backs active on Sunday. So as of right now, he could be that odd man out. So we'll see,
I mean, I think it would, if him being inactive would kind of contradict, the fact that he needs those actual reps. But like you said, he also brings something to the table that no one else in that running back room does. And also, he could be a kick return option as well. He's one of those guys with the running back vision and being able to see those lanes. It's going to be interesting to see how they manage, Sunday mornings with the active and inactive list. But I don't know if you can go into any game this season, and have Bill not be active when you have an Austin Eckler, Jeremy McNichols, C-Rod. Like, where do you get any explosion necessarily from your running back game? Like, it doesn't exist. It would kind of almost defeat the purpose. Not saying that B-Rob's explosive, but it'd be like, what did you really do this for? I don't know. I think maybe all guys. I think maybe all guys could be active, and maybe someone
Who are
else
you
is
sacrificing at that
inactive.
point?
Yeah.
I think maybe you sacrifice possibly a wide receiver or another position, but
I don't know if you can do that with 5 wide receivers on the roster. You only got 5 wide receivers,
You need your lineman.
Yeah,
I mean, it's probably gonna be. It may be like one, because especially if you got a swing guy like Wiley, you probably, and Trent Scott too. Like, you could probably afford to put like Chris Paul on inactive, or maybe George Fan. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. Like, maybe one or 2 offensive linemen. And like, that's how you can get your 4 running backs out there on the offensive side. I do think that Colson Yankoff is going to be playing because he's a special teamer.
Yeah.
So they'll probably have all 4 tight ends active. Somebody mentioned Luke McCaffrey in the chat. But I don't know. Like, especially if they got him on the depth chart as a kick returner and special teamer. Yeah, I don't know, man. And on top of that, like, I'm not like making the case for it to be Bill per se, but like a running back could be a running back that's gonna be sitting. And that may be C-Rod. It may be, I don't think it's man McNichols. McNichols played all 17 last year.
Yeah.
So I think he was on special teams too. So
I mean, I think the guy could be C-Rod, but I don't know. I think if I had to make a decision today, I would try my best to keep all 4 active. And like you said, Wiley does bring that versatility of being able to play all across the line, except for maybe center. So that helps with that position and keeping somebody inactive. But yeah, I think that'd be one of the main things we get to talk about Sunday morning, and then maybe even after the game, because I feel like you need some type of burst from that running back position, especially if you're gonna be playing out of shotgun so much, and being able to get Jakrowski married. I guess I gotta call him Bill. I forgot. Trying to get Bill some reps, at least maybe 5-6 carries in a game. That could be very impressive.
But too, you mentioned that you can't have Bill inactive because you want that explosion. But what if they kind of see Debo bringing that kind of explosion? Even though you're not going to probably see Debo get a whole bunch of carries, but you got to kind of factor him when you think about that running game, because he is a weapon on jet sweeps. So if you want to even put him in the backfield, so I mean, I do think that if you do make a guy like Bill inactive, I trust that Cliff has a plan. Like I do trust that Cliff will have something ready in store if he doesn't have that, quote unquote explosion that you see out of a Bill. So, I mean, we'll see what happens Sunday. It's just speculation right now. It's just fun to do with the depth chart, but it just was one of those kind of eye-opening things, at least for me. But the only other thing for me was the validation that Josh Connolly had a great preseason, because we heard earlier in the offseason that he was struggling a little bit. I think some fans were starting to get worried that he might have been like one of those Jamin Davis type of situations where you don't hear him in a good way. But then when we watched him in preseason, I don't think we had to really kind of nitpick to find bad things about him. Like, he looked ready for me. And when I went back and looked at the game from last year against the Giants, Andrew Wiley was getting his ass kicked on that right side by Brian Burns. Like, Brian Burns was just working him. So I was worried about that going into the game. Like, I wanted to see Josh Connolly's athleticism against that defensive line. I mean, I know he's getting thrown to the wolves against a hell of a front seven, against a hell of a front, but I think we need that athleticism, and we need him to kind of, step into that fire early on. And I like Wiley kind of, moving into inside. I don't know if he's going to be in a rotation with Allegretti, but I do think, to your point, AJ, I trust him more probably in the guard position than I trust Allegretti at this point. But either way, I do think you're much better on the offensive line this year than when you faced the Giants last year.
Could Washington have really afforded for Josh Connolly not to start from the jump at right tackle?
I mean, it could have been a rotation thing like they did with Brandon Coleman last year.
Yeah, I think it could have been a rotation. But to answer your question, I personally don't think they could have really just time is on their side. Like, no matter what my answer is, but I don't think they could have afforded it, because I just think Connolly brings a versatility from a standpoint of actual other players on that line. Like, without Connolly, you're much thinner in your interior, because if Allegretti is out there, right? Allegretti, main thing, like he struggled. Depending on the matchup, he had his good games, but he struggled in certain instances, right? And it's like, you're looking for somebody you're looking for more power, right? And some more strength in that interior. Somebody who can help you get some traction in the run game. But if you're thin on the interior, like, that kind of is that's kind of based on like how Connolly is viewed from the staff. Like, can we trust him to be on the right side and start him out there? If they don't see it that way early on, based on his performance and practice and in preseason, that's not a good look. But I also think for Connolly, with him starting, all of that don't even matter. Honestly, it's good that he's starting, and it's good to get his feet wet off rip. I don't think that a person like him can really. He's too young to really like be viewed as somebody who's like a finished product right now. And it's good that he got some tools in his toolbox already. So we'll see. I don't think I'll leave it there. Sorry, I got a few more things to say about him, but I'm gonna leave it there.
Yeah, like I said, that was it for me as far as the depth chart. Like I said, I was the validation that Connolly didn't have an or by his name just made me feel good to know that guy's going to do it. But otherwise, the special teams, I'm not too. And I actually had someone say the same thing that Moneyball came at me about. Well, not me, but he just said in the chat about Debo being worried that he's running on kick returns. But he did that last year with the 49ers. I mean, you got to look with those new kickoff rules. They're designed more for those guys with that running back mentality, that running back vision. It makes them dangerous. Like, I'm even predicting that he houses one this year, because, Eckler almost housed a couple of them last year. So, you know what I'm saying? Those guys with that type of...
He did get one.
Yeah, he did get one. Yes. And so, I want my most dangerous weapons back there. That's what all teams are doing throughout the NFL, whether they play certain positions on the depth chart and everything. And when did we become so scared to play certain players on special teams? Deion Sanders, one of the best athletes of all time, one of the most important players of all time, always played special teams back in the day. But somewhere along the line, people started getting scared. Like, oh man, we can't put this guy back there. He might get injured. It's football. He can get injured walking onto the football field. But if he's on that football field and he's a weapon and he can play special teams, I want to see him play special teams. So I'm actually excited about the prospect of Debo playing kickoff returns.
I think people just scared in general, man. Like, especially when you talk about like a Debo Samuel, they understand, but they don't want to admit it, that he takes the offense to a whole nother level. So if he gets injured, it kind of changes the complexity of the offense, even though you got 5. But I think people just scared in general, man. Like, hey, scared money don't make money. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, guys got to get these opportunities. You got to be able to put the ball in your playmakers' hands so that you could start possessions at a good field position. That's the whole reason of why they're doing these kickoff things. And what now a touchback is 35.
Touchback
Like,
is
Yeah,
35.
yeah,
so it's like they want the ball in play, and you got the perfect guy to be able to help maneuver, getting you the best possessions, to start your drive. I think the thing to look out for overall, special teams hasn't looked good at all, whether
yeah.
it be kick return, punt return, um,
Kicker.
More
yeah,
so the
kicker,
coverage, but in the kicker,
like
yeah.
yeah, but like coverage on the receiving end, they haven't looked good at all. So that's something to pay close attention to.
So just about the team in general, like where are we at? Like I guess because Thursday's game preview, so kind of like where are we at early on, or early kind of look into the Giants? Like, is this a team where you're kind of thinking about how you think about the matchup? I don't want to lead the question. How y'all think about the matchup?
I mean, I think it's a solid matchup from the standpoint of their front four going against Washington's offense. I mean, when you got guys with premier traits in a Brian Burns, pass rush skill set, Abdul Carter, even though he hasn't played in an actual NFL game that matters yet, but the traits are there that shows that he can be a elite pass rusher with good bend. You still got another rotational piece in Kayvon Thibodeau, who can bring something in that pass rush game. But then the beast in the middle, Dexter Lawrence, who has always been a problem for Washington, even when they had their top guard in Sam Cosmi. I think those are the main things that you're concerned with. But I think from an offensive standpoint, when you're going against them, you can bring so many different things to the table to slow that pass rush down. One of those things is the screen game. Um, I thought that it was very telling that the first play Washington had against Cincinnati on Monday Night Football in preseason was a jet sweep to Debo Samuel. I think they want to go horizontal with some of these plays that they have against the Giants instead of trying to run up the middle. Um, I think that's where I also think Bill is someone that should be possibly active because he can get on the outside better than the other guys in that room. But I think that's the main challenge. I think that's where it becomes intriguing for people outside of the fan bases of Washington and New York with this game is that defensive front versus Washington's offense overall. Now, when you talk about the Giants' offense, you're not as concerned, but at the end of the day, Malik Neighbors is a real player. Like he's a real guy. Russell Wilson still can throw that deep ball. It's just what type of defense are you touting? What type of defense are you bringing out there this year? Are you going to be able to get after the quarterback and create havoc and also stop that run? But I think the main thing that we should be focused on in this matchup, as we will explore it further this week, is Washington's offense versus that front four.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited that we got the Giants week one because, and this is kind of a segue into maybe y'all can kind of chime in on this too, because I think this matchup kind of will tell you a good bit of the story about how Washington's season may go in a sense, because when you look back at last year's team and who gave the team the most problems when they matched up with them, or at least this offense, it was teams with strong front sevens and strong front fours that can get to Washington. Even the Giants, they weren't good last year, but the Giants gave Washington problems in both games last year. The Giants could have beat Washington in that first game last year. Dallas gave Washington problems last year. Dallas wasn't a playoff team last year, but Dallas gave Washington's offense problems because Washington didn't handle their front four. They couldn't handle the front seven. So this is great that they get this early season test, especially when you think about how tough Washington's schedule is. It'll just show you how far along that Washington, where that offensive line has come. And can they give Jaden the time? Can they go out there and not struggle against a Giants team that they're supposed to beat? Like, I mean, I know it's week 1, but Giants, prediction wise and all of that, no one's expecting the Giants to be a real factor in the NFC East. So if you can kind of go out there and show that you can hold your own against that offensive line, I think this will be a story to tell how they can handle the rest of the season going forward, because it's not too many teams that in the league that has that, even with the schedule Washington has, it's not too many teams that'll have that kind of line that they could trot out there against Washington. So I'm excited for that, just to see that. Also, on the other side of the football, I'm excited to see how they handle Malik Neighbors this year, because Malik Neighbors gave them all the hell they wanted last year. But last year, you were trotting Michael Davis and Ben St. Juste out on them. You're not doing that this year. You got Marshawn Lattimore. You got Trey Amos out there. So you do have some dogs now. Can they match up better with them? So this is a game that I think Washington has to come out and kind of make a statement. Not to say they have to go out there and blow them up, because I do not think this is going to be an easy game. It's a division game. Giants always give them hell. But I do think if Washington wants to be kind of viewed as one of those serious contenders this year, you come out the gate and you make a statement against that team on both sides of the ball, because the Giants gave you problems on both sides of the ball last year. And like I said, segue for you all, if you all think or agree that this could be a very telling matchup going forward, because I do think this matchup, even though it's week 1 and I'm not going to make no, glaring declarations, but I do think that you could tell a lot about this team by how they come out this week 1 against the New York Giants.
Well, for me, I look at it a few ways, just based on how you all were kind of even diving into the Giants matching up with these guys. You got Laramie Tunsil and Josh Connolly for a reason. And I think for Washington, like from a run game and pass game standpoint, one, the Giants pass rush is going that's going to be like their biggest strength defensively. And how they're able to get after the quarterback with 5 different type of linemen, right? But you got two new offensive tackles, and you moved your left tackle from last year, a second-year player inside. And I think like that newly revamped offensive line is coming out the gate like with one of their biggest tests of the year. So to that extent, yes, like this is going to be something where like you can actually get an idea of where they are. Now, granted, like it may take a couple weeks for a few different units in Washington to like really like mold and get together, because we can't forget like this team is still like brand new. Like there's only a few core players on the team right now. Like, and I don't want to minimize it, but like the amount of new people that came in last year and this year is like it's a new batch of mercenaries, bro. So like you got to take that into account. I think the offensive line is definitely going to be one of their, like, this is going to be a huge test for them and a huge indication of where they are, especially with Laramie Tunsil, who didn't even play in the preseason, excuse me. But though there are reports that he was holding his own, doing his thing in the joint practices and practicing whenever he did get a chance to get on the field. And honestly, the same thing in the defense. I've said a few times, because I know we'll touch on the pass rush, and I don't want to take everybody's shine, so I'll stick with the secondary. I think that this position group, the cornerback, is like a top 4 position group on the team. Like, and I felt that way for a couple months now, but I just think the way that they was able to turn over that unit, find their guy in Trey Amos who stylistically fits what they're trying to do, Joe Witt Jr., his physical style. Like, I think those are kind of ideally like the person that fits exactly what a commander defensive back looks like, right? But then you also have Marshawn, who's coming off of the year of inconsistencies, injuries, and things of that nature. I just think for Washington, now granted, you mentioned Malik Neighbors, they do have some sneaky guy like Wan'Dale Robinson, that first level threat, the way he's shifty and how he can make people like pretty much be a headache for people, right?
That's gonna be Salmon, right?
Because I think he plays in the slot. I gotta see what their line. I gotta see what their lineup is, but I would imagine he plays in the slot now. So I just think that secondary unit, obviously the defensive line for Washington is going to be a big item that we need to talk about. But I think that secondary unit is not, it's not like a huge test for them against the Giants, like in their receiving crew. But at the same time, if you can really make a statement in week one that can help you push yourself moving forward from a confidence standpoint, I think that'll be ideal for Washington. So yeah, that cornerback group is something that I look forward to. But I do think that it's telling. And it can help watching out because, again, like I said, the Giants just, they aren't strong enough at the receiver spot. So like if you struggle against these guys, then we got some things to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
AJ, what about you? Did you have an idea of like if this is an indication, like whether good or bad, depending on how they play against the Giants? Like, do you think that it's an indication of what the season could look like?
No, I mean, I think that, a lot of teams lose week one and still progress. If I'm not mistaken, didn't the Chiefs play the Lions week one last year?
Yeah.
And they
2 years ago, I think.
Okay. So, I mean, I just think that, excuse me, my allergies killing me right now. But yeah, I just think that it's not a precursor to anything. The main thing to look at is the fact that you got a quick turnaround that you play Thursday. That's the thing. So it's like if they
it's
do
Michael Parsons and crew.
if they do start off slow, and or play slow the entire game, then that would be very telling for what is going to happen. The following
AJ, no, my point was it's the way they can, like, sure, they can go out there and lose, but if they go out there and kind of lose or get dominated by the Giants in the same way that they kind of got beat and dominated by some of those teams last year, would that be a bit of a concern for you going forward this year that maybe they didn't improve as much as I thought they improved?
No, I wouldn't. I'm not going to be concerned at all. I think it's a long season, man. I think that we're not looking at this team going undefeated. Do we think? I think collectively on this panel that Washington should beat the Giants. Yes, but at the end of the day, that defensive line is real. When you already had a Dexter Lawrence and a Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau to some extent, and now you get the third pick in the draft, Abdul Carter, to add into the mix, who, can bring problems to Conley, even though Conley kind of did his thing against him when they played collegiately. But you got one side of the field kind of shut down in a sense on the left side. Over the weekend, I watched the interview that, shout out to Brian Colbert of the Washington Commanders did with Brandon Coleman. And Brandon Coleman talked about like the leadership of Lermy Tunsil, how he went to Auburn and worked out with him and plans to do that for the rest of his career. So I'm excited to see that communication and that relationship show up on the field on Sunday. But we've touched on Josh Conley being added to the mix. They have so much more athleticism on that offensive line versus what they had last year. I expect the screen game to go crazy. Like, I expect Cliff to dial it up screen game with Debo, Jeremy, Jalen Lane, even Terry in the mix of that. Yeah, I'm excited. I don't think anything could deter me on Sunday as far as the projection of the season overall, but I just love the athleticism that has been added to that O-line because I know that Cliff really wants to go heavy, even more heavier than he did last year with the screen game and stuff.
Well, it could be a positive thing too. I was gonna say because if they go out there and make a statement and dominate those guys, I'm gonna feel like they can do that against anybody because the Giants is gonna have one of the toughest fronts that you can see out there, and I will feel confident going into any game, even Green Bay with a Micah Parsons led front. I'll be like, man, I just seen these dudes do it against one of the best in the NFL. I feel good about my boys going forward. Yeah, I mean that's just me.
It's a great test for them. I mean, in the next 10 days, they're going against the guys from the Giants and then Rashawn Gary from the Packers and Micah, other guys that can blitz with the Edrin Coopers of the world, Luca Van Ness. They can get after the quarterback, so it's going to be a great test for them to start off the season. Then week 3 is Max Crosby. So yeah, you're going to see a lot of bump from some good players that can get after the quarterback and make an impact on the game. But I'm excited for them, man. I just think that they're gonna do well. And even if it doesn't look as pretty immediately, I still think that it gets better as the season goes. And then we also got to remember, after these 4 games, Sam Cosmi is going to get put back into that space next to Josh Conley Jr. Key thing is, man, just staying healthy, because I think that if you lose a Lermy Tunsil, God forbid, now things get a little different.
Let's go ahead and run through some over and unders once we get back from a word by me from them boys and good people over there at Underdog Fantasy. Listen, Underdog Fantasy, promo code Trapper Dive, by the way. Football is back, man, and is Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, rushing yards, interceptions, and more. Last week, I did do a 2-player pick, right? And I did it on both all 32 and the Commanders side. So today, we're gonna do touchdowns, right? And let's see what they have, because I actually liked. Let's go to Friday. No, let's do that. Let's do Thursday for the Commanders side. Let's see if we can do touchdowns. A sneaky pick. I'm gonna go a little bit in the gutter. Where is Pickens? Okay, Pickens is right here. We got Dallas Goedert. We have Jahan Dotson. That'll be fun. And then we got AJ Dillon. I actually forgot about AJ. I like AJ Dillon, man. But let me get back to where I'm at. So I'm going to go with George Pickens on his rushing receiving touchdowns. We're going to go high on George Pickens. And we're going to do one for the Eagles. And while I really do like Jahan Dotson, but that's more so just because of his value. But at the same time, I think Devontae Smith can always get busy against Dallas, man. So I'm going to do George Pickens higher on his touchdowns, rushing receiving. And I'm going to do Devontae Smith higher on his rushing receiving touchdowns for Thursday night. Listen, download the app today and sign up using promo code TRAPPERDIVE to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. You play $5. You get 50 in bonus funds. Millions of fans have already won billions and making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money.
To be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
All right, let's go to our over and unders for the season. As always, man, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you are on the YouTube side, we definitely appreciate y'all over there. So who do we think? I think this is kind of the best way to do it, because we're going to do running back by committee here in Washington for sure until like that running back one emerges, right? So let's kind of start with the rushing game. Who do we think is ultimately the number one rusher? And what type of season do you see out of them? Is 600 yards is that person getting higher or lower than around that benchmark? What does that look like for the number one rusher for the Commanders this year?
I'll go first. Two things. I'll answer your question more, but I'll also tell you who I think is the leader rusher of the team. I think Jaden Daniels is the leader rusher of the team this year, not a running back. However, if we're talking about of these group of running backs, I think Chris Rodriguez ultimately is the leading rusher of the team, and I think he does get over 600. I will put him somewhere right around the 700 marker where Brian Robinson usually gets. But yeah, I think Chris Rodriguez will ultimately
right before he
end
gets
up
hurt.
Yeah. Yes. I think Chris Rodriguez will ultimately be the leading rusher of the running back group, but I think Jaden Daniels leads this team in rushing this year again.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Dre with Jaden Daniels being the leading rusher of the team again. But where I'm gonna disagree, I think that number 2 guy in rushing yards and I guess the leading running back yardage wise would be Austin Eckler. I think because of his role last year in playing with Jeremy McNichols and Brian Robinson, we forget that this guy was a bell cow for like a good amount of years for the Chargers, and also highly producing running back. Has always kind of been revered as one of the top fantasy running backs in NFL history because of also being able to add something within the receiving game. So I think that Austin Eckler will be the leading rushing running back out of this position group going into the season. Well, to fantasy season.
Hey, AJ, you 0 for 1 on your Austin Eckler position, so I don't know if I can believe you on this one. I don't know if I can take your word.
What happened with the other one?
I said last year you said he was going to be the leading rusher of the team. You had him over B-Rob as the leading rusher. That's why I said I got you 0 for 1
because I thought that he was going to have a bigger role as the running back, but I think that they had a different vision.
I do remember this
to include him in the passing game. But I mean, we did see a game where he had like almost 200 all-purpose yards from the standpoint of like receiving and rushing. I think now with B-Rob not being in the mix, he also kind of excuse me, he kind of also understands that there's no longer a 1-2 punch. It's now excuse me, it's now also about who is going to have the hot hand, and the fact that he suffered some injuries last year that caused him to miss some games to where he couldn't be as impactful as I would have liked in my call that I made last year. But I think he's still Austin Eckler. I know that he keeps his body in shape. Things of that nature is just more so, the concussion element is something to be concerned about. But I still think that he will be a top rusher on this team this year, and then also adding in maybe number 3 will be number 3 might be Debo.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm with Austin Eckler as the lead rusher, but I do want to. I think what's important here is like he came to Washington because he knew he had an opportunity to take some of that load off of him as a primary ball carrier. So like I don't know what like the internal conversations would look like for Washington with Cliff and Anthony Lynn and all of those guys. Like I don't know what that's going to look like for Eckler and their plan for 2025, but like I don't know like how drastic his carries would increase comparatively speaking to last year. But I do think that he's the leading rusher. I mentioned 600 yards being the benchmark. I think that put it this way. If your leading rusher cannot clear a 600-yard benchmark, that's a problem. So I do think that 600 is attainable for Eckler, and I do think he reaches that. Okay. So let's go to.
Hey, if I could jump in real quick, I stepped aside to look at the stats. I mean, Austin Eckler had 367 rushing yards on 77 carries last year. So he easily, especially now kind of being the more formidable name within that group, he easily should get 600 yards.
Not
and
easily. You don't even give him that many touches.
But I mean 77 touches for the season, 367 rushing yards.
He's gonna be a big part of the receiving game too, though, AJ.
But you missed 5 games. He missed if he played all the games, he would have eclipsed.
And that's a possibility this year. Like I don't think it's a guarantee he plays 17.
Well, we did this with a back that was here last year, and I kept saying if he played a couple games. play a couple more games a year, he'd have 1,000 yards.
And B-Rob missed games every year.
If only he could see. If only he didn't have
Well,
Stevie
see,
Wonder
look, that's an excuse, but excuses are excuses, man. I don't know. I'm just talking shit about Eckler, but or talking shit, fucking around. But I think understood. We'll see how it goes, but missing a few games, I don't know if that's gonna like change like the actual usage of him. So we'll see.
How do we think, like, I'm reading the chat or whatever, how do we think a guy that got cut a couple times last season is now going to be the leading rushing back for this team in a
Because
C
they
line?
view him differently now. Like, and Dan Quinn has said it. Dan Quinn said he changed his body. And a guy who got cut, mind you, this is Ron Rivera's guy. They have shown you they have no qualms about getting rid of those Ron Rivera era guys. But for some reason, they like Chris Rodriguez. And I think he's shown why they like him. I mean, Chris Rodriguez, matter of fact, he had a really good game against the Giants last year. He had 52 yards rushing against the Giants, but he had guys ahead of him. But I think he came into this offseason with a new approach. He showed him something different. He's obviously slimmed down a bit. He looks like he's in better condition. And I think they don't view him as, that's the guy we cut twice. I think they view him as a part of this rotation of running backs that they like now. So I think you got to kind of throw all of that out the window that he got cut twice, this, that, and the third, because he's a legit part in that running back rotation. And when you think about it, outside of Eckler, who me personally, I just don't see them handing Eckler the rock as some kind of bell cow as this number one running back. I just think he's going to be this Swiss Army knife. So when you look after Eckler, who's going to be that guy? And I still have a hard time believing that J-Mac, Jeremy McNichols, is going to be that number two guy that gets the most touches out of that running back room. So when I look logically, I'm looking at Chris Rodriguez. That's just how I see it.
And Jay Tyler, I don't look at Bill as being a game breaker. I think he brings something different to the room, but like I'm not like one of these fans where I think like this dude is about to be all pro. Like, yeah, he definitely has a different skill set than everybody else in the room, but I don't think he's a game breaker. I didn't even see Buddy play in college. Like I only knew about him because he got drafted and had to do a little bit of research. So yeah, this ain't somebody I was like out here looking at. It ain't my Jahmyr Gibbs, I tell you that.
Let's do quarterback and then obviously trickle down to the receivers. Jaden Daniels, what is his 2025 look like? Let's kind of set the benchmark for everybody in the chat as well. I'll set it at passing yards 3,600. Let's do we want passing touchdowns 25, rushing touchdowns 8. You don't have to think about them like one by one, but like that's kind of where I'm like just spitting out like a projection. That's right in the mix of like a higher or a lower. So where are we at? Like what is a 2025 season look like for Jaden?
I think for Jaden, how many passing yards did he have last year?
Jaden had like 32. I'm about to double check. See my memory helps me out. Jaden had he had 35. And he played
35.
17. But okay. he really played 15. So let me up it a little bit. Let me up it a little bit because he missed the Panthers game and then he played a half of the Cowboys game, that second one. So let me say I said 36, right? Let's do 3,900. Let's do 39.
Yeah, I think he hits 4,000. I think he also becomes the first Washington franchise quarterback probably since Sonny Jurgensen or Jesus Christ that passes for over 30 touchdowns in a season. I definitely see him eclipsing 30. Rushing yards wise, I mean, he almost got kind of close to 1,000 last year. I think he'll be.
I ain't need to do the rushing yards. Yeah, huh?
I think he'll be in the 800, 900. Yeah, I think he'll be in the 800, 900 mark. But interception wise, I don't really want to go into all that because I just think he's someone that protects the ball well. So I'm not gonna try to focus on that. But I think passing yards wise, I think he hits 4,000. But the main feat that I've been waiting for watching the quarterback to hit is over 30 passing touchdowns. I think that he gets that. And ultimately, I think that he is in the MVP conversation as he should have been last year. But now is going to be at a higher volume as far as like those that do the voting. I think that he will be in the MVP conversation.
Yeah, I'm with you, AJ. And that's what I was looking up while you were talking. I had to go look, and I see that no quarterback in the modern era has threw for any 30 touchdowns for Washington franchise in our history, at least in the modern era. I didn't go back too far, but I think Jaden eclipsed that. I mean, he had 25 last year, but from what I remember, it was something, I can't find the stat, but early on, I think probably the first half of the season, I think Jaden threw for like maybe 8 touchdowns or something. But then at the back half of the season, that's where he got the bulk of his touchdowns. And as we know, Jaden got so much better as the season progressed. And I think Jaden's going to be fully firmed into that MVP conversation this year. So I have Jaden eclipsing that 30 TD mark. I think he's going to do it. He's going to, solidify himself as one of the best quarterbacks in the league this year. So, yeah, I'm going definitely. Matter of fact, I'm going to say over 32 touchdowns this year. So I'm going to put him somewhere in the 33 to 36 range of touchdowns this year. Offense is going to be.
You talking about total or you talking about passing?
Passing touchdowns alone. I probably put him around 8 or 9 touchdowns on the rushing. So I think he gets over 40 combined touchdowns this year. But I'm giving him in the 33 to 36 range of passing touchdowns this year. That's the bar I'm setting for Jaden, and I think he's earned the right to have that kind of bar. I mean, if you're talking about a guy that you think is going to be in this MVP conversation every year, this guy that's in the top 5 of quarterbacks, as you want to put him, with the Lamar Jacksons, the Joe Burrows, the Mahomes, and the Josh Allens, this is what he's capable of doing. And I fully believe he can do that. So, yes, I'm putting Jaden 33. You can give me the over of 32.5, and I'm going over. So over 32.5 for me. Jaden Daniels eclipses it. And I do think he hits the 4,000-yard passing mark as well. And as the leading rusher of the team, 800 rushing yards.
I don't think 4,000 is unattainable for Jaden. And I think that like what holds me up is like he does run the ball a lot and he's a scrambler. Like that's gonna dip into his passing yards. And like obviously we know he's a pass first quarterback, like we already know that much, but like I wonder just how many scrambles actually, does he take as opposed to like sitting back and trying to find the bigger play through the air or a big play through the air. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna go higher. That's just me pondering, like thinking out loud, but I'm gonna go higher. I think he does hit over 3,900. You said 45 combined TDs.
I said over 40 combined. So for over 40 combined, yes.
Over 40 combined. I think that you can. I think like 25 is what he had last year. I think somewhere between that 25 to 30 range is where Jaden gets again. So I'm gonna go higher on the 25 as well on the passing touchdowns. I don't know about 30. I don't think that's impossible, of course, especially nowadays, right? But I also think that like this is just a team that's really balanced, and that kind of chips into your passing touchdowns. So I'm going to say somewhere between the 25 and 30 range for Jaden. Do y'all think it's a problem if your leading rusher is your quarterback? Do y'all think that's a problem?
No, not at all. I think we in a different day and age of football. I mean, just even think back in the day, Michael Vick was leading his team in rushing yards. I think now when you have these dual threat quarterbacks such as a Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, and so on, that these guys have the opportunity to create on the fly more than previous quarterbacks did in the past, because there's open lanes to take. They can also get outside and be a threat, still throwing the ball. So now the defense got to play them differently. That's why it's so important these days to have a dual threat quarterback and not just someone that is solely a pocket passer and a statue. Like the days of like the Brad Johnsons, the Peyton Mannings are over with. You need that. So yeah, if you can go pick up almost 1,000 yards on maybe 120 carries from a quarterback standpoint, you got to go make that play. If the play is there to be made, you got to go do it. And I think that we see that those teams with those true dual threat quarterbacks typically always have the top rushing attack in the NFL, from the Buffalo Bills to the Eagles to the Ravens and so on.
I don't think it's
Yeah.
a problem. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'll be quick. I don't
Yeah.
think it's a big deal, but I also think like it's a reason why those same teams who have like true dual threat quarterbacks, like they eventually like try and find their guy at running back. Like Derrick Henry, Baltimore, they needed Derrick Henry. And then James Cook ended up just emerging as a drafted running back with the Bills. And that's not to say that Jaden, it's a problem here in Washington. I'm more so highlighting the fact that eventually, if it isn't a problem now, they just need to be aware moving forward. Like, you know, these teams who also relied on their quarterback to like really change the game for them offensively, also realized that they needed a fucking running back. that's all I'm getting at. So I don't think it's a problem. I think it can be a problem later.
I don't think it's a problem at any point from my standpoint, and that's because if you do have that elite guy, you're always going to be a threat. Because Lamar Jackson led before obviously he got Derrick Henry. He led the Ravens in rushing yards damn near every year. He was getting over 1,000 yards a couple of those years, and arguably could have got to the Super Bowl a couple of those years. They could have went to the Super Bowl a couple of those years, but they just so happened to be playing against the Michael Jordan of the AFC. Well, they have Patrick Mahomes in their conference, who stands in their way. Like Lamar could have probably won a Super Bowl or two by now if they don't have, a Patrick Mahomes sitting in his way. And I don't think, they didn't win those games because he's, their leading rusher of the team. But I do think that type of rusher, like a Derrick Henry, or when you think about the Philadelphia Eagles or Saquon Barkley, they do take your team to that next level, because now you have two dynamic rushing attacks with the quarterback that can also pass the ball. As we just seen, Lamar just had a crazy MVP season, in which I kind of put Jaden's baseline at, when you got Lamar throwing for over 40 TDs in the season, I think it's very attainable for Jaden to go out there and throw for 33 to 36 touchdowns in a year. But no, I don't see it as an issue when you have someone so elite at doing it that Jaden does it, especially when he can process at the level that he does when he's in the pocket and he's passing, and he can use his legs to run as he pleases. So I don't think it's something that hinders a team, when you're talking about Super Bowl aspirations, because the quarterback leads the team in rushing. I think it does enhance everything when you do get that dynamic running back like a Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley.
Receivers, Terry McLaurin, where are we at with him? Let's say 1,200. Let's set the benchmark for him at 1,200. And then for Debo, let's set the benchmark for Debo at like 9. Yeah, 9 is a good one. All right, so where are we at with those two? I'm not even worried about the other two. Those are the main two that's gonna keep the offense moving, Debo and Terry. So where are we at? 1,200 is the benchmark for Terry, and then 900 is the benchmark for Debo.
All right. For me, I'm gonna have to say over for both. And the reason why, if I'm going with Jaden having over 4,000 yards, somebody has to have a chunk of those. I think Terry finally eclipses that 1,200 mark, because he hasn't hit 1,200 before, right?
Yeah, that's why I was intentional with that.
I got Terry finally hitting that benchmark. Terry's also motivated. He has an incentive-laden contract now, so Terry wants to go out there and get those numbers. So I do think Terry gets over 1,200. I also think the Debo gets over 900 as well, because like I said, somebody has to get a chunk of those yards. If I'm predicting over 4,000 yards for Jaden, so yes, over for both of those guys.
For Debo, I think he gets over 900 receiving yards. For Terry, I don't see him eclipsing 1,200 receiving yards. I do see Jalen Lane eclipsing the amount of yardage that Diami Brown had last year.
That's not hard.
The little 200. That little funky ass 200.
That's a low bar.
Like 300.
It's like 3 something. I can see Jalen at about 500.
He had 308.
Yeah, so I think
I think 308 is attainable for Robinson. Well,
and then you got to factor
Ertz
is going to get about 600-700 yards too, probably, if he stays healthy all year.
Yeah, so I just think that Jaden hits the number of 4,000, but I don't think it comes with like Terry having a career standpoint from a yardage stat wise. But I think that you have some guys that step up and contribute more, from a Noah Brown to a Jalen Lane, also maybe Austin Eckler within the receiving game there. But yeah, I don't see Terry eclipsing 1,200 yards.
Well, if the idea is 4,000 and Terry isn't eclipsing 1,200, you're gonna need you need to know who's gonna be this year's Zacchaeus. Noah Brown got hurt, so that kind of chipped into. He probably would have had 700, maybe 700 yards this year. You already said that you can see Jalen having the Diami role, but Zacchaeus had 500 for this team last year. So like there's gonna be some receivers where you're like, who's going to step up in this space? I do think it's interesting, and we've never had this conversation this offseason, which is actually funny because I really think that we could have like the grades that we had last year for the receivers, we were at like majority or consensus of the people who were listening to us or viewing us, and even on social media, was at like the C- D range.
Yeah.
And like it's interesting to know like where people view it now. Like that's before the season. I think people probably changed it as the season went on. Not drastically, but like it'll be interesting to know like where they start off this off season or heading into the season, like where they view this receiving core at, because like y'all said, y'all see 4,000 in Jaden. You're gonna need to see like who this year's Zacchaeus is gonna be, and who's this year's Diami is gonna be. Like we know what AJ said, he thinks Jalen can be Diami, but like generally speaking, you got some people that need to fill the role and do even more. And that's why I was like, if Terry ain't gonna get 1,200, who's gonna be the other people that's gonna step up?
Yeah, I mean, I think also just got to keep it on our radar too. Maybe they do get this deal done with Kendrick Bourne. I think that'd be a great addition to the wide receiver room. I mean, I don't see Luke McCaffrey bringing any impact from a receiving standpoint. But I think where I see Jalen Lane having promise, it really stems from me seeing him at training camp, bro. Like I seen that he got real wheels, and I think that he can be a deep threat down the field. And I also know that he can be a presence within, some of this like jet touch pass plays and screen game. So that's where I think that he can have a bigger impact than what Diami had, because they tried to involve Diami in that screen game quite often last year. But Lane is a better guy with the ball in his hands. So yeah, I think that's where I feel like he could have a bigger impact than what even Diami had. And a lot of people thought Diami had an amazing season, which, propelled him to get a 1 year, 10 mil contract with Jacksonville. But I think that Lane brings more to the table as far as like ability on the field and different things that you could do. And he really has a true speed threat, like a deep threat in comparison to Diami.
Oh,
no, I'm good. I'm good. No,
okay.
I'm good.
All right. For the purposes of the All 32 show, unfortunately, we spent one too many minutes going back and forth at the running back position, which is okay. But we can kind of spin the block off show early next show to kind of get to the defensive side of the ball, and then obviously get into our preview. Hey, everybody in the chat, man, we appreciate y'all watching and listening. Look, the fellas will be back. This is it's regular season. Like,
game preview Thursday.
The bullets is flying for real. So we are back Thursday. All 32 is back tomorrow. And then we're here on Sunday as well. So yeah, we'll be back on Thursday. Y'all take it easy. Appreciate everybody's watching live. Dre, AJ, see y'all in a couple days. Be safe, man. Peace.
Sure.
Trap it down, trap it down, you gon' trap it down. Trap it down, you gon' trap it down. Down, set, watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.